year was 1966. I was 11 years old. It was late January and a weekend. On Saturday, 29 January, we were in the dead of winter. While it wasn't snowing yet, it was plenty cold outside. The high temperature this day would reach all of 12 degrees Fahrenheit, and a frigid wind blew in from the southwest, and a perfect day to stay inside. When we went to bed Saturday night, the wind had died down to near calm, but it was still cold, just 12 degrees. Little did we know that Mother Nature was very busy off to the northwest. When we got up Sunday morning, it was already getting windy. An icy 15-degree wind was blowing in from the north. As the day wore on, it began to snow, and the wind got stronger. Dad had to go to work tomorrow, and we had to go to school, so there was work to do. We were sent out to clear the driveway. Armed with snow shovels, we started digging, but the snow just kept coming. We would clear a path, and when we turned around, it was already filling in behind us. We did our best, but Dad finally realized it was a losing battle, and he brought us back inside. The wind got worse. Gusts were reaching 50 miles an hour. Snow was still falling and creating large drifts. People were forced to abandon their cars when they became hopelessly stuck, and the snow and wind still came. All that anyone could do is hunker down and wait. As Monday dawned, the polar blast was still roaring in from the west at 40 miles an hour. Snowdrifts were reaching the second-story windows of some homes, and in some places even higher. Outside, it was not fit for man or beast. There were plenty of times we were in complete whiteout conditions. When Tuesday morning arrived, it looked no better than yesterday. But by mid-morning, the wind began to abate. By noon, it was just 10 miles an hour. It was now safe to venture outside and see what things looked like. As kids, we were just happy to get outside after being cooped up in the house for 3 days. Cars buried to their rooftops. The way you knew some were there was the radio antenna poking up through the snow. Huge snowdrifts everywhere. It was an adventure. We had never seen anything like this before. Some of the dads in the neighborhood organized a supply party to go out and procure food. With sleds and toboggans in tow, the group made their way to the local bakery and grocery store. How these proprietors were able to open their shops is just short of a miracle. But they were. The baker was baking and the local grocer was open. They got the needed supplies, loaded their sleds, and pulled them back to the neighborhood. Eventually, the sun began to shine, which always makes you feel better. It really put a spotlight on how bad the conditions were. Streets were impassable. In fact, it was hard to see where the streets were. Snowmobiles were not that popular yet, and no one we knew had one. The only way to get around was on foot. It was time to start digging out. As soon as they could, the town sent out their fleet of plows. They always start with the main roads. So it took a day or two before we saw a plow in the neighborhood. The process was brutal. The snow was not going to give up easily. They could not just drive down the street and push the snow aside. They had to back up over and over and take a running start. The snow would push the truck sideways, and they would back up and do it again and again. Eventually, they pushed through, and yes, they did kill a few mailboxes in the process. It was a week before life returned to normal. When the National Weather Service closed the book on this event, they said it was one of the worst storms on record, and we made it through. And I am just glad my dad took these 8mm shots of the event, which I hope you enjoyed. Remember, life is a journey. Enjoy the ride, and thank you for watching.